Alright, hello everyone on YouTube. My name is Kevin Markham. Today I wanted to talk about my Remington New Model Army revolver. This gun is awesome. And after shooting this Colt and the other Colt Walker that I had, and granted they are Walkers and Walkers have problems. Maybe the 51 Navy and the 60 Army are different and more reliable, just a different shooting experience, but this has been definitely jarring shooting this Colt Walker. It's something that is definitely cool to own. I'm just never sure. I'm just not sure if I'm ever gonna shoot this thing again because it was. I'm definitely gonna keep it because I want to eventually have all the Colts. But this Remington is just. After shooting the Colt Walker, it really made me realize how great this Remington is. Got a couple of these cylinders. I'll bring them in over here, and I made a lot of modifications to this Remington. That's really what I want to talk about today. After shooting this Colt Walker, I actually sold this gun to my dad for a reason I'll get to in a second. And after shooting this Colt, in fact, I even bought another Remington, a shorter 5.5 inch, same company Pieta. Bought that thing, and that thing didn't even work as good as this Remington. This Remington right here, you really. I didn't go to the store and check it in person, but it's sort of a mix. It's sort of a gamble when you buy a gun, the quality that you're gonna get. But this gun is definitely good quality. I think it also has to do with some of the modifications I made to it, and I'll talk about those. So, obviously, you can see this color on this. It's brown. I stripped the bluing off of it, and honestly, I don't want to, I think this finish is actually just better quality. I think it'll protect the gun better. It is starting to come off a little bit right here, but, you know, the bluing that was on this gun, I just took some rust remover to it. Within seconds of the rust remover hitting the gun, it was taking the bluing off, and it would run over the side in a stream, and there'd be a stream of white steel left behind. So the bluing came off this gun really easily. Now I put some Casey Birchwood bluing, super blue on this thing, and I had that on there for a while. And the bluing, when I took that bluing off eventually, it took more than seconds. I had to leave that thing soaking for minutes before the bluing came off, and the gun did not look in the white afterwards. It was gray. So I just think that the quality of the bluing, it looks good, but I'm not sure how well it protects the gun. The factory bluing from Pieta. This is Casey Birchwood's plum brown. This is something finish typically reserved for muskets, but after seeing a lot of pictures of old guns, a lot of them are brown, and so that's the kind of look I was going for, brown. Now, one of the things that you'll probably notice is this line here on the cylinder. That's a result of a timing issue with the bolt. The bolt stop kind of grinds a little bit on the cylinder, but honestly, I haven't found it to be a problem. I have shot this gun a lot, just put hundreds of rounds through it, and it's really good and really reliable. That's just really a cosmetic thing. And if you get a used gun and it doesn't have that marking on it, I'm gonna want to say that it hasn't been shot very much. Instead of just the quality being better, it doesn't have timing issues. I think a lot of these guns do have timing issues, and just after a certain use, you'll get that. In fact, when I browned this gun up, it removed that line, and of course it's just worked its way back on there over time. Of course, I also put on these faux ivory grips. Got these from River Junction. Everyone wants to know what kind of grips are those. Where'd you get those? River Junction. And these were white basically when I got them, and I just took this torch over here, just lightly went over it, sort of made it a little bit yellow, just kind of aged it a little bit to make it look like John Wayne's. He had this aged ivory, this yellow ivory grips on his guns. Was really tempted to put finger grooves in there. I might still, but I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure if I want to. I really like the Remington's grip. A lot of people don't like the Remington grip. think the Colts are better. I do not think that at all. This grip is really nice. What you got to do is really, you got to hold it basically as really high up on that thing in order to get a good grip on it. But if you do that, I put my thumb on the recoil shield just to balance it out. When I do that, this gun is very stable. And I've seen a lot of people trying to hold the Remington back here, and then they have problems reaching the hammer. And what they have to do is they have to readjust the gun, cock the hammer back, and then put their hand back down, and that's just dumb. You just got to hold the gun to a point where you don't have to readjust your hand on the gun in order to reach the hammer. And that's, I think, because they're used to shooting Colts and having their hand down here. But if you have your hand right here, and honestly, this is good, because the closer your hand is to the alignment of the bore, the more that recoil is going to transition right into your arm. Instead of, if you're holding it down here and you fire, your gun's going to want to jerk up like that on the recoil. But if you have your hand closer to the bore alignment, it's just going to go straight into your arm. Sights on it are good. I'll talk about the front sight that I had put on this in a second, but these faux ivory grips, it's got a lot of polyurethane in it, some ivory in it, and I bought one of these from River Junction that already had a screw hole drilled out. Those were garbage. They were not good. The screw holes were not aligned with each other. It was just bad. They just were terrible. Ended up throwing those things out. But I did want to customize my grips somehow. Didn't want to spend a whole lot of money on real ivory grips and the service to hand fit it. Eventually, what I probably will do is I probably will do that. I probably will buy some real ivory grips and send them to the gunsmith and have them fitted to the gun. But I just wanted to do something quick and easy. And I sanded these to fit. I drilled out the hole, put the screw in there, and the screw is really tight in there. And this sort of started to poke out the other end. I just sanded it down. It's nice and smooth. So even though I can feel it a little bit, it's just smooth. And you know, the faux ivory grips, you know, they might be a little bit tacky to have those on a gun, but honestly, I just prefer how it feels. It's a lot thinner than the original grips. The original grips make the grip really fat, and it's a lot smaller. It's just way better in the hand. Also, it gives better traction. My hands stick to this way better than the wood, especially when it has that high glossy finish on it, which I took off. Even still, I just put some boiled linseed oil and wax on the grips, and they just don't stick as well as this. It's just a really good feeling, a very positive feel in the hand. One easy modification that I want to talk about is just loosening this screw right here. This screw puts tension on the mainspring, and that controls how stiff this hammer pull is. Just loosening that screw up a little bit. I had one, the 5.5-inch one that I had. That screw was deep in there, and it didn't need to be that deep in there. All I did was just back it out a little bit until it was flush with the grip, and the hammer pull was lighter. So that's really an easy thing that you can do with your gun. If you're not doing that, you need to. I'm not going to take off the grips right now, but the mainspring that's in there, you can take a belt sander to that and lighten up just the middle of it. I don't have a belt sander. I took some 80 grit sandpaper. I just worked at it for a while. I like to think that the hammer pull is lighter, but I honestly couldn't tell you if it actually changed much at all. It is pretty damn light. And people say, I saw a guy talk about cowboy action shooting, and he said that you want to slide your thumb off the hammer, because you don't want to like jerk your hammer around and shit like that. You want to move the gun as little as possible. And this is definitely fast. I see people shooting the gun, like I said, they hold it like this, they readjust their grip, they cock the hammer down, they readjust their grip and shoot. That's just really slow. So that is just faster. Now let's get into, I took off the markings. You don't see it says, I think on this side it says 44 caliber black powder only. That marking was removed. I thought I was going to have to use some JB Weld to fill in the area, but you really can't even tell that anything was there. You can see at certain angles. The surface is a little bit more roughed up than the rest, but I don't see it as too much of a problem, really. It doesn't bother me. On this side, you know, you really can't tell. The only part that you can kind of tell is you know, right there. You can see it. And I really should just take some sandpaper to that and smooth it out a little more. But you know, the next time, you know, this finish will kind of wear. You know, probably in the next few months, I'll probably touch it back up again, and when I do that, I'll take some sandpaper to that and smooth that down some more. And of course, I took off the serial number back here. Honestly, my grips, they have a gap there, but even the factory grips have a gap there. That's just how my gun is. I took the serial number off, all the markings, the import markings, the proof markings, they're all gone, and what I just did, because, you know, serial number needs to be on the gun. People say that, you know, the import mark needs to be on the gun, and the manufacturer needs to be on the gun, all that stuff needs to be on. It doesn't need to be on the gun. The manufacturer is required to put that on the gun, but it's not required that you keep it on the gun. So I just put the serial number back on the gun. R507266. Yeah, it looks... I think it has character. And my stepdad did it for me because I didn't want to mess it up. So you get what you get. And he put the 5 too early. He was quite upset about that. And I said, just put the 7 over it. It's fine. I think it has character. It's just hand stamped on there with the punch set. And another thing, you probably can't see it. Try to get it in there. No, you're not gonna be able to see that. I did recess the plunger there. Just sort of recessed it with the Dremel, cone-shaped Dremel to better accept conicals. One thing I probably should do is actually recess this area in here so it can actually accept conicals better. As it is now, what I do is I just put the conical in the cylinder off the gun, push it down in there, take a rubber mallet, hammer it in the rest of the way, insert the cylinder into the gun and press it down with the plunger. And that's definitely a very slow process, a lot slower than just loading round balls. But it works. I can load up, you know, 3 of these cylinders that way and just shoot round balls the rest of the time, honestly. What else? Of course, I just polished a lot of the internals. The hammer, everywhere that, all the moving parts that make contact with one another, I just smoothed them up, sanded them with like 1,000 grit sandpaper. I honestly don't know how good of an action job that is, but it's something. I lubricate all the parts up, sprayed a bunch of oil and ballistol in there. And the way I finished this, I had just cleaned this one, so I haven't done it yet, but I just put some Rem oil on the outside of the frame, only the outside. I don't want to get any Rem oil on the internals, because I believe, I'm not entirely sure, I believe Rem oil is a petroleum-based oil. It displaces water, I think. I believe it's a water-displacing oil. And you don't want that in the internals of your gun. Any place that you can get black powder fouling, you want water to be able to get in there because you need to clean it with water. I use a mixture of water and ballistol, and that's something I learned from a lot of other people who do this. They use the same thing, water and ballistol, commonly known as moose milk. So you want to get water in these parts, and I was telling my dad about how to clean and take care of this gun. And, you know, I shot this gun. One time I shot 50 rounds through it, and I took apart the entire gun. I always take apart the entire gun whenever I clean it. Some people, they just clean the bore, the cylinder. I take apart the entire thing, and there was black powder fouling on everything: the trigger, the bolt hand, the bolt and the hand, the hammer. Everything had gunk on it, black gunk on it. It was soft, luckily, because I liberally lubricate my gun with wax, and so if the powder fouling was harder, it would be harder to get off. But it was nice and soft, and all I had to do was just wipe it off. So I lubricate the guns very well and clean them with hot water and ballistol. But on the outside, I put a coat of Rem oil. I put several coats of Rem oil on the outside, heat it up with a torch, and while the gun is still hot, I put some wax with a knife and just melt wax over it to give it even more protection against the elements. And let's talk about the brass sight. I took this to a gunsmith. What I did is I was adjusting the sights when I was shooting it. I adjusted them too much. So I took the sights off, Tried soldering on my own sights, did not work very well. I'm not a professional. Took it to a so-called professional. He put sights on there. I got home. I put it in my, just in my belt, not in a holster. Put it in my belt. I draw it cross draw style and turn it too fast. The sight got caught on my belt and came right off. First day I got it. Took it back to him. He put this sight on there. I don't know how he's soldering it on there, but I know that the factory sights from Pieta were really well soldered on there. Those things would never come off. In fact, when I tried to get them off, I tried hitting it with a hammer, doing all sorts of shit. They were not coming off. If I hit this thing with a hammer, that sight would come off. That's one of the reasons why I sold this gun to my dad. It's because the sight came off. I was just like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this. I'll just buy another one. It was fun, and I know my dad likes this gun, so I sold it to him. But when I got the 5.5 inch, he liked that one a lot. I like this a lot, so I wanted it back, and I gave him the 5.5 inch for this one. The 5.5 inch barrel has a problem where the latch is so close to the gun that you can't take the pin out. That was annoying. Also, the latch wasn't very good. The latch was actually failing, and I was surprised that on a Remington the latch was failing. This Colt's T-spring is actually pretty strong. It's very strong. The other one that I had, I sold it already. That that T-spring for that, the loading lever was falling way too much. I had to tie it off. This one, I was shooting max loads through this Walker when it was falling, so I've shot Cowboy 45 Colt loads with a conversion cylinder. The loading lever did not fall at all. And, I get it. You shoot max loads through this thing, you're going to have problems. I was asking for that. But you got to do it at least once, and I did. I shot, I think, 24 rounds with 50 grains of black powder. Actually, black powder substitute Pyrodex. It shoots a little hotter. At feet per second, you get a little bit more of Pyrodex. And I think I used Conicals. I think 240 grain Conicals. And then I was using some round balls. 150 grain round balls, and it's what you couldn't expect. I knew this was going to happen. The wedge is definitely hammered a little bit. The gun is a little more looser. In fact, the barrel really got stuck to the frame. I had to take a rubber mallet and whack this apart because it was not coming out. And ever since then, I noticed there's a bit more of a gap in this area. I take this gun and I wiggle it around in my hand, and I can hear things moving. So, it was fun. I liked it. I'm definitely going to keep it because I want to get all of the Colt guns. But the other one that I have, I think it required a different size cap. I was using the wrong caps. That's what I'm hoping was the problem, because I put caps on all the chambers. I fired it once. All the caps came off. In fact, I could not even get the cap to sit on the nipple. I would put it on there. I would cock the hammer back. It would fall right off. So I had to just take the nipple out of the gun, empty out all the gunpowder, and then push the bullet out through the front. So I did not like that thing. Sold it. Luckily, I bought it for a good price, and I sold it for a good price. But this Walker is pretty nice. It's an Army San Marco, and I did strip the bluing from this one too. You can't really see. You can see a little bit of the rust on top. The rust took better on top. I tried giving it a rust patina finish. Did the same thing with the oil and wax. The cylinder is just sort of a little bit light brown, and all the rust that formed on the back of the grip, that all just came off, which I was surprised about. But yeah, I'll keep that thing around, just part of the collection, but I don't know if I'll ever shoot it again. The Remington is definitely a shooter. It's just really nice. Trying to think of any of the other modifications I made to it. Oh, I channeled out the area around this. It does look pretty rough. I'm sure a gunsmith could do a better job than me. But it allows me to use a snail capper with these cylinders. So that's pretty nice. I can use a snail capper, the brass front sight. I could use conicals in it. Action smooth, hammer pulls light. It's a very nice gun. And that's just... I honestly was thinking about when that front sight came off, I was thinking about just cutting the barrel down to 2 inches rounding off this grip profile and making it into a belly gun, because you don't really need front sights in those. You'll see some historical models, some historical examples with front sights, but you'll see a lot of them without front sights. You don't really need a sight for a gun with a 2-inch barrel that you're just going to pull out and shoot somebody at point blank range. But yeah, that's my Remington. I love this gun. It's very awesome. I want to basically... I definitely want to get a second one at some point. And what I also want to do is convert it to a... I want to get a cartridge conversion cylinder for 4440 Winchester centerfire. The 4440 is a bottleneck cartridge instead of the 45 Colt, which is a straight wall cartridge. So it's gonna keep most of the black powder fouling, you know, this way. It's gonna keep it out of the action better than a straight wall cartridge like the 45 Colt. And I want to get a gated conversion cylinder. All you gotta do is open up this area and the recoil shield, so you can push bullets through it. And there are several plungers, not several, there are a couple plungers you can get out there that basically require no machining at all. They just drop right in. So I'm definitely looking forward to doing that eventually. But yeah, that's the Remington. Hope you guys enjoy.